In 1978, a young black woman borrowed $1,500 and started a business from her home in Los Angeles. Today, that business generates over $3 billion in revenue, operates in 19 countries, and made her the first African-American woman to build a billion-dollar company. Her name is Janice Bryant Howroyd, and the fact that you've probably never heard of her is exactly why her story needs to be told. Forget everything you think you know about becoming a billionaire. Janice didn't inherit money. She didn't marry rich. She didn't win the lottery or create a viral app. She did something most people said was impossible. She built an empire in one of the most competitive, unglamorous industries imaginable, staffing and employment services. And she did it as a black woman in the 1970s, when banks wouldn't even give her a business loan. This is her story. Janice Bryant was born in Tarboro, North Carolina in 1952. She was one of 11 children. Yes, 11. Her parents, J.B. and Mary Bryant, didn't have much money, but they had something more valuable. They had vision. Her father was an entrepreneur who ran a general store and sold insurance. He taught Janice a lesson she'd never forget. If you want something done, do it yourself. Growing up with 10 siblings meant learning to hustle early. There was never enough to go around, so you had to make your own way. Janice watched her father negotiate deals, manage customers, and solve problems. She saw entrepreneurship as survival, not some romantic dream. After high school, Janice left North Carolina for North Carolina A&T State University, a historically black college. But college wasn't where her real education happened. In 1976, she moved to Los Angeles with barely anything in her pocket. She took a job at a Billboard magazine employment agency, and that's where everything clicked. She saw how the staffing industry worked. Companies needed temporary workers, agencies connected them with talent, and everybody made money. But she also saw the gaps. She saw how black workers and other minorities were overlooked. She saw inefficiencies. She saw opportunity. By 1978, at just 26 years old, Janice made a decision that would change her life forever. She was going to start her own employment agency. There was just one problem. She had no money. Here's where most people would give up. Janice went to banks asking for a business loan. They laughed her out of their offices. A young black woman with no collateral, no business degree, and no connections wanting to start a company? In 1978, they didn't even try to hide their racism and sexism. The answer was always no. So Janice did what her father taught her. She found another way. She borrowed $1,500 from her mother. That's it. $1,500. Not $15,000. Not $150,000. $1,500. She named her company Act Own Group, and she ran it from her home. No fancy office, no employees, just Janice, a phone, and a newspaper. Her strategy was simple but brutal. She'd wake up at 5 a.m., scan the classifieds for companies hiring, cold call them before anyone else did, then place ads in the paper looking for workers. When companies called looking for employees, she'd match them. When workers called looking for jobs, she'd connect them. She worked 16-hour days, 7 days a week. She was the receptionist, the recruiter, the accountant, the janitor, and the CEO, all at once. Most nights she'd fall asleep at her desk. Some days she wouldn't eat because she was reinvesting every dollar back into the business. But here's what made Janice different. She actually cared about the people she placed. In an industry that treated workers like commodities, Janice treated them like human beings. She remembered their names. She asked about their families. She fought to get them better wages. Word spread in the black community. If you needed work, you went to Act Own. If you needed good workers, you went to Act Own. Within 2 years, she'd grown enough to hire her first employee. Within 5 years, she had an actual office. Within 10 years, Act Own was generating millions in revenue. But Janice wasn't satisfied. She was just getting started. Through the 1980s and 90s, Janice expanded Act Own beyond anyone's expectations. She didn't just want to be a small staffing agency. She wanted to be global. She wanted to compete with the biggest firms in the world. Here's how she did it: diversification and technology. While other staffing agencies were stuck in the old way of doing things, paper applications, phone calls, manual matching, Janice saw the future. She invested heavily in technology. She built databases. She created software that could match candidates to positions faster and more accurately than competitors. She also expanded her services. ActOwn wasn't just about temporary staffing anymore. They offered training programs, workforce management solutions, vendor management, and payroll services. She became a one-stop shop for companies that needed workforce solutions. By the 2000s, ActOwn Group was operating in 19 countries across North America, Europe, and Asia. They were servicing Fortune 500 companies: Microsoft, Google, Boeing, Amazon. The little company that started with $1,500 was now generating over $3 billion in annual revenue. In 2017, Janice achieved something historic. She became the first African-American woman to own and operate a company that crossed the billion-dollar revenue threshold. Not $1 billion in stock options, not $1 billion from investors, $1 billion in actual revenue from actual business. She had built a real empire. But here's what the headlines don't tell you. The cost. Janice sacrificed relationships. She missed family events. She worked through holidays. She dealt with racism and sexism at every level. Corporate clients who wouldn't meet with her because she was black. Banks that still wouldn't give her loans, even when she was generating millions. Competitors who tried to copy her model and undercut her prices. She fought through all of it. Why? Because she wasn't just building a business for herself. She was opening doors for every black woman entrepreneur who'd come after her. So what makes Janice different from other billionaires? It's her philosophy. She calls it purpose over profit. Janice has always maintained that ActOwn's mission isn't just to make money, it's to create opportunities for people who've been overlooked. Over 40 years, ActOwn has placed millions of people in jobs. Many of them were people who couldn't get hired elsewhere because of their race, their background, or their lack of experience. Janice gave them a chance. She's also incredibly generous with her knowledge. She mentors young entrepreneurs, especially women of color. She speaks at universities and business conferences, sharing the blueprint for how she built ActOwn. She doesn't gatekeep. She believes in lifting as you climb. But don't mistake her kindness for weakness. Janice is a fierce negotiator and a brilliant strategist. She's outmaneuvered competitors who had more money,